Information, please. Presented each week at this time by Canada Dry, famous the world over for its fine beverages. Wake up, America. Time to stump the experts and enjoy a glass of refreshing Canada Dry ginger ale. Every week at this time, Information, please, directs the toughest questions at the toughest experts we can secure. Here's how it goes. For every question we use, whether or not it's answered correctly, the sender gets $5. And if your question stumps our board of experts, you not only get $10 more, but in addition you receive a complete 24-volume set of the current Encyclopedia Britannica. Mind you, this is only if your question stumps our board of experts. Our editorial staff may reword your question a trifle. Don't worry about it. Whenever there is a duplication of questions, Information, please, uses the one that was received first. All questions become the property of Information, please, and should be addressed to Canada Dry, 1 Pershing Square, New York City. And now, may I present our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Clifton Fadiman, literary critic of the New Yorker magazine. Mr. Fadiman.
Ladies and gentlemen, nobody worked hard on this program because, as you know, it's completely unprepared and unrehearsed. The 4 experts who do not work hard tonight are, first, the eminent sports maestro, Mr. John Kieran, the verse writer and column conductor for the New York Post, Franklin P. Adams, Jan Struther, the author of the best-selling book, Mrs. Miniver, and the famous American novelist, Louis Bromfield, author of The Rains Came, Night in Bombay, and many other distinguished works of fiction. Now, remember, listeners, for each question that's missed, Canada Dry rings up $10, and that's paid out to the sender, plus 24 volumes of the latest edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now we'll start with a question so easy that I'm ashamed to direct it at these 4 distinguished intellects. This comes from Mrs. Watt Richardson of Breedsville, North Carolina, and will take you back to Mother Goose. What Mother Goose character did the following things? There are 4 of them. Get all 4. What Mother Goose character jumped over the candlestick? Oh, that's so easy. Mr. Bromfield.
Jack.
Jack.
J.B. Nimble.
Middle initial B.
Jack B. Nimble.
Jack B. Nimble, the famous Nimble family, yes. His brother being named?
J.B. Quick.
That's right, Quick and Nimble, yes. What Mother Goose character thought he was a good boy? Thought he was a good boy. Mr. Adams.
L.J. Horner.
L.J. Horner. How do you address these people when you write them, Mr. Adams?
L.J. Horner, Esquire.
Oh, yeah. What Mother Goose character loves plum cake and sugar candy? Loves plum cake and sugar candy. Ah, this has got them down. Mr. Kieran.
Handy Pandy Jack a Dandy. Love plum cake and sugar candy.
Yes, you are practically right. Handy Pandy is not right. Andy Spandy is right. Andy Spandy. I'll take Andy Spandy, Mr. Kieran. What Mother Goose character sat among the cinders? Sat among the cinders, Miss Struther.
Little Polly Flinders.
Yes. Will you give us the next line?
Little Polly Flinders sat among the cinders, warming her pretty little toes.
Yes.
Her mother came and caught her and smacked her naughty daughter for spoiling her nice new clothes.
That's very nice. Thank you very much, Miss Struther. That was just to get them started. Now, the next question from H. Kelly of Indianapolis. Each of the following men, there are going to be 4 of them, came to an unhappy ending. Do you recall the circumstances in which each met his end? Get 3 out of 4. The first is Ivar Kreuger, K-R-E-U-G-E-R, Mr. Bromfield. How's Ivar Kreuger?
He was a great Swedish swindler and capitalist who controlled the match industry.
Yes.
And who brought down in his fall a great many financial houses in Europe and America.
That's exactly right, Mr. Bromfield. Thank you. Now, the second would be Marinus van der Lubbe. Marinus van der Lubbe. Mr. Bromfield specializes in unhappy endings.
Van der Lubbe was the half-witted Dutch boy who was made the scapegoat in the trial for the burning of the Reichstag.
Yes, that's right.
And was beheaded by the Germans.
Yes.
Although he was so half-witted, he didn't know whether he'd burned the Reichstag or not.
Yes. That gives us 2 unhappy endings. The next is Jean-Louis Barthou. How did he meet his end? Under what circumstances? Barthou, B-A-R-T-H-O-U. Mr. Bromfield, you are ever reliable. Mr. Bromfield.
A morgue expert. Barthou was foreign minister of France, and he was shot at the same time Alexander of Serbia was assassinated in Marseille.
Gosh, you're marvelous at this sort of thing.
I would say what happened.
Very good. Maybe we can catch you on this one. Arthur Flegenheimer. Arthur Flegenheimer. Mr. Adams.
He was shot.
He was.
Otherwise known as Dutch Schultz.
Otherwise known as Dutch Schultz, or D. Schultz, as you would put it. Shot about when and where, would you say?
About 12:30.
By gollies, I think you're right, Mr. Adams. It was 12:30. He was shot in a tavern in New Jersey, October 23rd, 1935. Gives us 4 unhappy endings out of 4 unhappy endings, and sends us on to a question coming from Annette Hardeman of Douglaston, Long Island. Quote 4 lines of poetry, Miss Strother and gentlemen, that mention 4 different kinds of tree. And you may not repeat the same tree. Mr. Kieran.
The moan of doves in immemorial elms and murmur of innumerable bees.
That's a beautiful line. It's from what?
Tennyson.
From Tennyson, yes. That gives us an elm tree. Miss Strother.
Hearts of oak are our ships, hearts of oak are our men.
Good. And who wrote it? You don't know? I don't know either.
Terrible.
I don't know either. We're
I
perfectly...
connected with Dibdin, but, I think he wrote the tune.
I don't know. Mr. Kieran, would you know?
He
No,
wasn't
I
there.
don't
I
know.
bet
All
he
right.
wouldn't
That
know.
gives us Hearts of Oak. Mr. Brumfield.
Under the spreading chestnut.
Very good. Very good. We're very glad to accept that, Mr. Brumfield. That gives us 3. Mr. Kieran?
Murmuring pines and the hemlocks, bearded with moss like druids of eld and so forth. Longfellow.
That gives us
Evangeline.
4 or 5. That's right. There's a famous song that you like to sing, Mr. Adams. It has two trees in it. Sweet Adeline, for you I pine. It gives us 7. August Gold of Brooklyn, New York, sends this one in. Name 3 different species of animals which have taken their names from islands adjacent to the coast of the British Isles. And name the islands from which the name was taken. Miss Strother.
Manx cat.
Manx cats, yes. From the Isle of?
Man.
Of Man. Plural being?
Mangees, I should think.
I have no idea. What do they call inhabitants of the Isle of Man?
Manxman.
Manxmen. Mr. Adams.
Shetland.
Shetland. From what island?
Shetland Islands.
Neatly put. That gives us 2. Mr. Kieran.
Jersey cows.
Jersey cows, yes. The Jersey Islands are to be found where?
In the English Channel.
Yes, they're part of the Channel Islands. Mr. Bromfield, do you have another in mind?
Guernsey cows.
Yes, that's right. That's all right. Mr. Adams often picks things up from Mr. Kieran that way. Miss Strother.
Skye terrier.
Ah, that's a very good one. Where is the...
In the Hebrides.
In the Hebrides. Is it
Isle
part of a group
Skye.
of islands?
Yes. Over the sea, too.
The Inner Hebrides. That's right. Well, we have at least 4. D. Mitchell of Louisville, Kentucky sends this one in. This will test your knowledge of the derivation of words, Miss Strother and gentlemen. From what languages are the following words derived? Get 3 out of 4. Now, all of these words belong to the same category, one might say. The words are wine, whiskey, brandy, and gin. From what language is the word wine derived, Mr. Adams?
Latin.
Latin. And the Latin word would be what, would you say?
Venus.
Venum, yes.
Venum.
Whiskey, Mr. Brumfield.
I think that was Gaelic.
Yes, it is. Can you give us the Gaelic? How is your Gaelic this evening, Mr. Brumfield?
I have no knowledge of Gaelic.
USQUEBAUGH.
That's very good.
Usquebaugh.
What a lot of vowels you can get in one word, Mr. Adams. Yes, what does it mean, Miss Strother?
It means the water with fire in it.
No, not quite.
Usque is water.
Yes, and beach, or however
Oh.
that's pronounced. Mr. Kieran, do you know what that means?
No, I...
It means life. Water of life.
Very good name.
Eau de vie.
Yes, it's
yeah.
exactly the same. The spirit that giveth life. The word brandy would be derived from what language? Brandy? Because you rarely worry about where these things come from in the way of their derivations. Brandy, how about a guess, gentlemen?
French.
No.
Well, that's wrong, Mr. Adams.
That
right.
sounds more like
I think it was a made-up
German.
word.
or-
I beg pardon, Mr. Kieran?
Sounds more Teutonic.
It does. It is a Teutonic language, and the language is Danish. Comes from a word brandevin, from branden, to burn, and vin, wine. It's a burnt wine.
wine.
The German is brandwein, Mr. Bromfield, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, that
We
gives
had
us
a
one
battle
wrong.
like that.
That's true.
Battle of Brandywine.
Sure.
It probably got its name. It was in the
Yes, I think
Pennsylvania
it did.
Dutch country. That's
It's the
probably where
same.
it got its
That's
name.
right. Now, how about gin? Miss Strother.
Gin comes from Geneva in Switzerland.
Some gin comes from Geneva.
No, but
Geneva
the word gin. Oh,
The
no,
word
it doesn't.
gin?
It comes from juniper.
It comes from juniper.
It comes from juniper.
You can make the derivation a little clearer if you give me the French for juniper. Mr. Kieran.
Geneva.
That's right, Genièvre. It also, some people say it comes from the Middle English Genipre, which is not a bad piece of Middle English, Mr. Adams, is it, now that I
That's
throw
an
it
elegant
directly
piece
at
of
you?
Middle English.
That gives us 3 out of 4. Can't seem to stump them tonight.
The cashier's register's not doing very good business.
No. We'll have to see if we can get $10 out of you.
Don't trifle with your luck.
Mrs. T.O. Varga of Brooklyn, New York, sends this one in. That's a very interesting question, I think. It's about some famous pairs of lovers. They generally come in pairs. Which one died first, the he or the she of each of these pairs? Get 3 out of 4.
Zip goes $10.
Yeah. You don't feel yourself competent, Mr. Adams, on this question? Now, the first pair is Romeo and Juliet. Who died first, he or she? Mr. Kieran.
He died first.
He died first. The circumstances being?
That he thought that she was dead, so he committed suicide, and then she awaked from the coma in which she had been carefully wrapped.
Right.
And finding him dead, she killed us.
Providing us with the fifth act. Very good.
Bad luck.
Now, the second pair of lovers, Tristan and Isolde, or often known as Tristan und Isolde. Mr. Bromfield.
Tristan died first, and Isolde threw herself on his body and died of grief immediately afterwards.
Don't laugh, Mr. Bromfield.
I was thinking about the opera singers and how they look.
Right.
Horrible thought.
Now, the third pair of lovers, Antony and Cleopatra. Did he or she die first? Miss Strother.
Antony died first.
Why?
Why?
Yes, why?
I guess he was bumped off.
Oh, well, it's very similar to the Romeo and Juliet situation, I think.
Yes,
Mr. Kieran, isn't that the case? Didn't he believe that Cleopatra was dead in the
He
play?
believes she was, and then she, of course, put the
Said it right.
put the asp
Yes.
on herself and was stung to death.
That's right. Now, the fourth pair of famous lovers is Frankie and Johnny. He or she died first. Miss Strother, you don't know anything about Frankie and Johnny, do you?
I certainly do.
Well, you've been improving your time while you were in this country.
Not at all. I've had the Frank Crumit record of that for years.
Oh, have you really? It's a very good record, too. Which died first, Frankie or Johnny?
Oh, no, isn't that awful?
Well,
The
that
man, anyway, and I can't remember which was which.
Ah, that is practically the
Johnny
entire...
No,
died
she
first.
didn't. She
Beg
whipped
pardon?
out little 94. Yes.
Johnny died first.
Johnny died first, as Mr.
that's
Adams
right.
tells us.
The women always survived in these.
Yes. Looks
I guess that's a slice of life.
ladies last, don't they? Let's see.
It was Hero and Leander they forgot all about.
I'm sorry we don't have that on the card, Mr. Bromfield. Well, the first half of our program has come to an end, and we have to admit that we have parted with absolutely nothing so far. Shall we make way for Mr. Milton Cross?
Many years ago, the workers in silver and other precious metals in the Guild Hall began marking their articles as proof of their genuineness of excellence. Thus, any evidence of sterling quality or true worth became known as the hallmark. And today we might say that Canada Dry has a hallmark of its own. This hallmark is the silver label on the bottle of sparkling Canada Dry water. This label has fully as much meaning as the hallmarks of the silver workers. It is visible assurance that the club soda contained in the bottle has been prepared by skilled craftsmen. These chemists create sparkling water from a definite formula worked out over a long period of time. That's why you'll never find a club soda to match Canada Dry water in its ability to make your favorite drink taste better and stay lively longer. So next time you buy a club soda, be sure to get the one bearing the Canada Dry hallmark, the silver label that says, a delightful table water, a marvelous mixer, sparkling Canada Dry water.
Mr. Cross, your discourse was clocked in exactly 64 seconds. Now, I'm determined to get $10 out of these people this evening. Mary Humphrey of Detroit, Michigan, sends this one in. Name 3 women of fiction who did the proposing. Who did the proposing. The proposal, I believe, is of marriage. There's nothing on the card to indicate the contrary. Mr. Kieran?
Priscilla Alden.
Priscilla Alden. Who is she? Or who was
She
she?
was the one who spoke up and said, "Why don't you speak for yourself, John?" when John Alden came a-wooing for Miles Standish.
100%. Thank you, Mr. Kieran. That gives us 1 woman of fiction who did the proposing. Have to get 2 more. Mr. Brom?
Fiction makes it harder.
Mr. Bromfield, I'm a little surprised that you can't supply us with 1 or 2.
I never read novels.
Do you read any of your own?
Not of my own, even.
Oh, you should read them. They have many merits. In The Rains Came, Mr. Bromfield, is there not a character named Edwina?
Yes.
Does she not do the proposing?
Yes, I believe she does.
Now, Mr. Bromfield, as long as we have you flat on your back,